Today from the global lane, week 2 of a historic anti-government uprising in Iran. The Ayatollah quietly prepares his escape plan. The country's Christians face intensifying persecution, yet the gospel surges forward.
Every year I said things in Iran cannot get any worse, and then it does. Then spiritually I say this cannot get any better. People in Iran are so open to the gospel.
Trump's bold ultimatum to Venezuela: kick out China, Russia, Iran, and hand the oil over to America. Will the country's new leaders cooperate?
After that military operation of snatching this illegitimate president, the way we did that, I think that they're going to cooperate at this point.
Shocking day one executive order. New York City's first Muslim mayor redefines antisemitism and lifts the BDS ban.
Really, this is an anti-Israel, pro-Palestine move, which is just in line with his woke communist anti-Israel objectives.
And remembering Michael Reagan, devoted guardian of the Reagan legacy. And it's all right here on the global lane. Shouting death to the Ayatollah. Iranians have spread their anti-government protests and strikes to 220 locations throughout Iran. Will the pressure bring about regime change, or will the end result be only more of the same? Protests that fizzle out as the Ayatollah turns guns on his own citizens. And what effect might the raid and capture of Nicolas Maduro have on Iran? Joining us to share some insights is the founder and president of Irani Live Ministries, Hormoz Shariat. It's good to talk with you, Hormoz. So what are you hearing from people inside Iran about the Venezuelan raid? Because I'm sure the Iranian leadership is concerned. There are reports circulating that the Ayatollah is preparing an escape plan just in case he's forced to flee to Moscow or somewhere else.
Of course, yeah, we are in touch with the people of Iran. As a 24/7 broadcast, we go over the heads of the mullahs into people's homes and they respond to us. So we are daily in touch with the people of Iran. And I see a new hope in the people of Iran. But you're asking about the government. The government of Iran is very fearful. The side of the fear has changed. People used to be afraid of the government. Now, the government is afraid of the people. And with what happened in Venezuela and what Trump said, that if you attack, if you kill the people, I will come to the rescue, the leadership in Iran is very afraid, even more afraid, because they attacked the army commanders in June, in the war, they attacked Iran. So when Trump says, I will defend them, it could mean that for the first time ever, he will attack the clerics. Not even one cleric has been killed over all these years.
Yes, he could have done it back in June, and he did not. He wanted to spare his life. So these anti-government protests are not subsiding. Police have arrested nearly 1,000 people. At least 16 have been killed. What makes this unrest different this time, Hormoz, from what we've seen in Iran in recent years?
There are a couple of differences. One is that the motivation for these protests, it used to be for freedom. We want more freedom. We don't want the covering. But this one is not for freedom. It's for bread. They're not saying, where is my vote? They're saying, where is my bread? And the economy is the main motivation for such a large number of people coming on the streets. They have problem with bread, water, you know about water, electricity, medicine. That's just heartbreaking. When a family, their loved one is dying and they can't afford a $30, $40 medicine that can save their loved one and they die. So this is all has put together a motivation that's different than before. So one is motivation. Another difference is that for the first time they're united, and they're united around Prince Pahlavi. The last uprising, there was separation. There were many factions, and they did not come together. The opposition did not come to peace with each other. They did not unite. But right now, no matter who, people of Iran are choosing him as the center of unity. Those who were against him, I had people who were against Shah, against Prince Pahlavi just a few months ago, and they are saying, I'm with him because there is no other choice. So this is different today. And after many years of hopelessness, for the first time in many years, the people of Iran are hopeful.
Let's talk about the hope that Christ gives. How's the government responding against Christians And unregistered churches, are we seeing a crackdown amid the unrest?
Crackdown on Christians has started this year. Last year, many Christians were arrested. And if this government survives, you can expect a new wave of persecution of Christians. Not just Christians, any group that they feel are the opposition. As you remember, last year, they invaded people's homes. They arrested thousands of people. They killed a few hundred, but they arrested thousands, and they executed. Iran #1 in execution. They executed an average of 5 people per day last year, 2024. So if this government survives, you can expect a new wave of persecution on Christians and other groups.
Well, still, many Muslims are coming to Christ in Iran through dreams and visions and television programs like yours. So tell us the latest.
Awesome. You know, every year, we have been on the air for 25 years. We use satellite television, not just for evangelism, for underground church planting, for training, leadership training. But I've never seen Iran this open. And every year, Gary, every year, I said, things in Iran cannot get any worse. And then it does. Then spiritually, I say, this cannot get any better. People in Iran are so open to the gospel. And then it gets better. If you look at the number of salvation, if you look at our curve of number of people who have come to salvation, it starts small 25 years ago, but it's growing exponentially. It's amazing. The curve jumping. The number of people coming to Christ is growing exponentially.
And quickly, how should we pray for them?
Pray for wisdom and protection. One message I give them is the valuable thing is your life. Don't give it away that easy. Spend your life, spend your time wisely. They were not wise 3 years ago when they went on streets and 1,500 of them were killed in 2 days. Now the people of Iran wise, and we are telling them, go be wise. Also, we are mobilizing many Christians. We are telling them, pray for Iran, go out on the streets, help people. Your message is love, faith, hope. Receive it and give it to the people of Iran.
Okay, Hormoz Shariat, founder and president of Iran Alive Ministries. Thank you for joining us. God bless you.
Thank you.
50 million barrels of sanctioned Venezuelan oil for the United States and a new requirement for Venezuela. Remove Chinese, Russian, and Iranian influence from its land. These are the latest conditions set by the Trump administration for Venezuela's leaders following the capture and arrest of Nicolas Maduro. So what happens next? How will all of this unfold? Joining us is former federal prosecutor John Deaton. Okay, John, is this all about combating narco trafficking, controlling oil, or kicking China, Russia, and Iran out of the Western Hemisphere?
Well, I think it's a little bit of everything, but this is what I would like to go back to. Let's go back to when Barack Obama declared that, signed an executive order stating that Venezuela and Maduro were a, quote, unusual and extraordinary threat to national security and foreign policy of the United States. That was under Barack Obama. And then under Biden stated that this was Maduro had stolen an election, was a threat, needed to be removed. The Democrats, Chuck Schumer, complained that Trump didn't do enough against Maduro in his first term. And now all of a sudden it's all about oil, and you'd act like we kidnapped a civic person in a sovereign land. And I think this was the right thing to do. The military operation from a Marine perspective was legendary.
It's almost like we kidnapped another Maryland dad. What are your thoughts on the interim president, Delcy Rodriguez? Her family had close ties to former communist President Hugo Chavez, and she's a friend or a foe to the U.S. What do you think?
I think the United States is treating her at arm's length. She came in and said something publicly in defiant, but according to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and others, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, she's basically said she's going to do whatever the United States says. After that military operation of snatching this illegitimate president out of his bed, in one of the most secured military compounds in South America, governed by Cuban intelligence. The way we did that, I think that they're going to cooperate at this point.
Well, you're a former Marine. I'm sure you can appreciate how they handled that whole operation. It was flawless, wasn't it?
Absolutely legendary. It's like a master class in military operation, and it just goes to show you, when you give our special forces a clear objective with the total support of the commander-in-chief, you see what could happen.
And you mentioned earlier about the Democrats and their criticism about the capture of Maduro, saying the military operation was illegal. They say it violated the Constitution and international law. What do you say as an attorney?
Well, I go back to Barack Obama and what he did. We don't even have to go to Trump's assessment. We go back to Barack Obama declaring it a threat to national security, Venezuela and Maduro, and employing sanctions. Under Article 2 of the United States Constitution, it states that the president can use military assets to protect important interests of national security. Obama said it. It's clearly legal. We could debate this War Powers Resolution Act, but listen, the Democrats didn't complain when Barack Obama did similar things. He went into Afghanistan and took out Osama bin Laden, right? He didn't get approval by Congress to do that. When you look at the drone strikes that he employed, he didn't get approval to do that.
The case against Maduro seems a lot more complex than the issues raised in the Manuel Noriega capture and trial of 35 years ago. So what's the difference, John? What must the prosecutor do to get a conviction?
Well, I think what we're going to see is obviously Maduro's going to come in, plead not guilty. His defense team will claim that he's the legitimate president and sovereign immunity. What we're going to see is declassified documents by the DOJ, where they're going to be able to show a direct link that this was a narco state, that Maduro himself had approved drug distribution through the cartel to the United States. I'm very confident we're going to see a prolonged trial, but they're going to get a conviction, and he's going to rot in an American cell. And
John, what's next? Colombia, Cuba? How do you think Congress of the country would react to similar military operations in those countries?
Yeah, well, I think that, President Trump is obviously put all of them on notice. Cuba, certainly. Colombia, certainly. The Colombian president, said similar things that Maduro said, like, I'm here, I'm waiting for you. I'd be careful what you ask for, because Maduro did that, and now look where he's at. I think the Democrats are going to politicize every single move that President Trump makes. He even brought it up that if he loses in the midterms, if he loses control of the House or the Senate in the midterms, they'll probably seek impeachment. They're going to politicize every event, but you cannot state with any objectivity or with any credibility that Venezuela was not in the national interest of the United States. Every president since Trump, Biden, Obama said it. It is in our interest, and what we've done is justified at this point.
Okay, former U.S. federal prosecutor John Deaton, thanks for sharing your insights with us. We appreciate it, John.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Anti-Semitic or anti-Israel? New York City's new Muslim mayor, Zohran Mamdani, has made a controversial move. He has revoked an executive order from former Mayor Eric Adams that put in place the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism. Mamdani claims that using the IHRA definition could limit free speech or even block legitimate criticism of Israel. Some leaders in New York's Jewish community, which number about 1 million, are worried. They say this move sends the wrong message at a time when hate crimes are on the rise. Israel's foreign ministry called it anti-Semitic gasoline on an open fire. Joining us with more is attorney Jenna Ellis, senior advisor of public policy at the American Family Association. Jenna, this first-day executive order by Mayor Mamdani isn't too friendly to Jewish families. What's Mamdani's strategy here?
Yeah, well, I'm very skeptical of his motivations, and this does clearly signal that he's not a friend of Israel, which I think we already knew. He's not a friend of America either, being a communist. And overall, though, I think that the executive order that prior Mayor Adams put in place really does give the opportunity to quell free speech. So I think conservatives can breathe a little bit easy that that executive order really didn't have a lot of teeth in terms of what we would prefer. But overall, I think it's going to be very telling what Mamdani does in its place.
Well, he's now lifted the restrictions on BDS activities. That may have a greater impact. That means city agencies are no longer clearly blocked from joining in BDS efforts and boycotting Israeli groups, making divestment choices that line up with the movement. So what does this mean for the fight against anti-Semitism? Could it open the door to more efforts to isolate and demonize Israel?
Of course. And I think, unfortunately, that's where both the left and also a segment of what I'm calling the new right are actually aligned on, unfortunately, which is this kind of anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, and on the right, America only type of framework, which is very dangerous when you consider not just the geopolitical strategy that America has always consistently held with Israel as our ally, but also the theological underpinnings that the United States as a Christian nation has always recognized in terms of Israel's status before the Lord. And so I think that this is just yet another play that while Mamdani claims that he's going to continue to put forth some hate speech efforts, really this is an anti-Israel, pro-Palestine move, which is just in line with his woke communist anti-Israel objectives.
Okay, and other issues for Mamdani. He pledged to tax the wealthy to help raise funds to provide free bus rides, childcare, other social benefits. So how do you expect wealthy people in New York City to respond? How might that affect families, help or hurt them?
Yeah, of course it hurts them. And I think it's an indication, Gary, that Mamdani really doesn't live in the real world. Communism, where it has been tried, has always failed. And this absolutely flies against free market capitalism, private property interests, all of the biblical values that underpin America's founding and conservative founding principles. And I think the way that a lot of New Yorkers are going to react are going to move. And so Governor DeSantis here in Florida, my home state, is kind of bracing for that impact. And if New Yorkers come to Florida, we just hope that they won't bring their policies and their Democrat votes with them.
Yeah, that's what people out west have said in Utah and Idaho about Californians, I think. Mayor Mamdani has just named Sia Weaver as the city's new tenant advocate. The New York Post reports that 7 years ago, Weaver called for home ownership, or she called home ownership white supremacy, and even urged the seizure of private property. So what does this mean for New Yorkers? Should we be worried about this thinking in City Hall?
Of course. And hopefully there will be other laws that the New York legislature will prevent from actually implementing some of these outrageous policies. And isn't it really inflammatory against minority communities to suggest that private property is just a white only type of thing? I mean, this goes back to pre-Civil War type of slavery mentality to suggest that only white people can own private property. But again, it's a biblical value that a worker is worth his wages, private property for man, regardless of the color of his skin, because we're all one race under the Lord. Private property matters. And so hopefully these policies, while Mamdani and his appointees are going to try to enforce them, will be further restricted by New York. But that's why I think the governor's race is going to be very important, as well as the state legislature.
Jenna, one last question for you. So do you think there's an effort underway, or will there be an effort underway to challenge some of this in court?
I hope so. And I would hope that a lot of the watchdogs and conservative groups will find every legal avenue. Democrats always do that with even good and sensible and constitutional and legal conservative policy. So things like this that override citizens' rights and infringe upon our private property rights, which the Constitution preserves and protect, absolutely should be challenged and should win. Okay,
Jenna Ellis of the American Family Association, thank you for sharing your insights. Where can we catch your podcast?
Thanks so much. I'm live from 8 to 9 Eastern on AFR.net. You can get our free app, or you can listen to the live station. Just go to AFR.net for American Family Radio.
Okay, Jenna, thanks so much. Glad to talk to you.
Thank you, Gary.
My heart is heavy this week as we remember Michael Reagan. He was a friend to CBN and often joined us on this program. especially during Memorial and Veterans Day. Many of you may know Michael as the son of our 40th President, Ronald Reagan, but I knew him as so much more. Michael was a compassionate conservative, a champion for family values, and a true friend to our veterans. He worked hard to keep his father's legacy alive. When we spoke off camera, it was clear he deeply loved his mother, the late actress Jane Wyman. She won an Oscar in 1948 for her role in Johnny Belinda. She went on to star in the TV series Falcon Crest. His father's growing role in politics, becoming a leading anti-communist voice in Hollywood, may have played a part in the family breakup. But Michael shared with me that his dad still made time for him, and those conservative values shaped his own beliefs. I first met Michael 25 years ago in his radio studio in Glendale, California. We talked about his dad's approach to political foes.
He was a person that brought people together. Even if he disagreed with people, he would bring them together. And the old joke in Washington, D.C., when he was back there as President of the United States with the Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill, the old line, listen, between 9 and 5, we are enemies, but at 5 o'clock, let's go have a cocktail together. I mean, Dad really believed in that. You fought hard during those hours. But when that was over, you didn't hold a personal grudge. My father never held a personal grudge against anybody. I mean, not even against the man who shot him.
Imagine how different our nation could be if our leaders followed Reagan's example, especially now when division and violence seem to be on the rise. Michael Reagan, who led the Reagan Foundation, had a heart for our veterans. He was deeply troubled by the suicide rate among those who served and the way our service members are treated. He often reminded us to thank our veterans and show true gratitude for their sacrifice.
If you're flying on a plane and you're in first class or business, you got a good seat, you see them come on in uniform, you know what you do? You get up, give them your seat, and sit wherever their seat was. Exchange seats with them and say thank you. You will not believe the applause you will get from everybody on the plane. It's a great way to easily honor a vet or someone who's serving today in the military and say thank you.
Or maybe paying their dinner when you see them at a restaurant. Pay it forward. Okay.
Another way to do it.
Folks, our nation has lost a true conservative voice. We will deeply miss Michael Reagan's unwavering commitment to God, family, and country. Our hearts and prayers go out to his beloved wife of 50 years, Colleen, to their 2 children, and to all who loved him. Michael Reagan lived 80 remarkable years. Well, that's it today from the Global Lane. Until next time, be blessed.